And thinking about scholarships and that you are creating a platform that anybody can become, you can set up a scholarship. And so that's something in my mind, traditionally, it felt like it was something that you could meet that need only through kind of a philanthropic structure. So I'm really appreciating that kind of, because I imagine younger people are probably like, I want to do a scholarship too. Like it's not necessarily the domain of somebody who's established at a certain level. So I think I'm just really intrigued because again, like I come from, I think, a more traditional idea. So you challenged my own idea of that. Wendy, I'm thinking about the hub that you have for students, because again, I think there's a connection there, at the same time complement to what you're all doing. But Wendy, do you have anything you want to speak to about that, what that experience has been like, what the response has been like in the community?
Sure. So we do a scholarship and bursary hub, or we call it an awards hub, because most of the awards are not for academic purposes. They're for people who need support to go forward. And it grew out of the fact that we have a lot of service organizations that pool their funds with us. We have a lot of donors who run scholarships and bursaries. And the model in Oakville and across Halton was that students would have to go to their guidance counselor, get paper copies of the application. I can see you understanding this. Sometimes if they were lucky, they were fillable forms, and then they'd have to come back with 8 copies for the OG, can I use that term? People in the service clubs who would review the applications and then make the decision, and then they get notified. So what we wanted to do was create a one window access, and it sounds very similar to Tomiwa's, so that all of these organizations could put their scholarships on the hubs, and then the students could go and access it. What ended up working really well is we started that at the end of 2019, and we launched January of 2020, and then 2 months later, the schools closed. So I know we've had tremendous growth and interest, and we don't charge anybody for it. Probably the distinction between ours and Tomiwa's in a lot of cases is ours are coming out of those donations. And so ours have to be grants to charities. So we don't support individuals per se, but we flow the funds to the post-secondary institution. It's the traditional model, doesn't go directly to the students. So it has to go to the post-secondary institution that is going to be holding those funds on behalf of the student and paying their tuition and their residence and all their other fees. So that's probably the one distinction I see, but you know, we've had tremendous growth with that. And one of the things I'm very proud of is we've now got about 7 or 8 scholarships that are basically directed for Indigenous students. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, maybe we can have a conversation about that, Wendy, because that is actually this was something that I got into. I don't want to use the word arguments, but it was an argument with people about this, right? Because they were saying like if you want to do this like the registered way, you have to go through, like, you have to be through a registered charity and you have to give to the schools. And again, my big thing is I've always been a big advocate of giving like to the people. So it's like, you know, my university is already a big university. I'd rather give that money to the student. And then if the student wants to spend that money on their tuition, if they want to spend it on groceries, if they want to spend it on a textbook, a new laptop for work or for school, like they should have that choice. So I'm curious to hear from your perspective, Wendy, what do you think about like giving to the organizations or the schools versus giving to the students?